Hello, folks, and welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comic for today is Hellboy, Conqueror, issue 4 by Dark Horse. Now, there is fighting, killing, shooting, some magic and alien shit, lightning, and ghosts in this one. So, if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here's the team. So, this is the last issue of Hellboy Conqueror Worm. Hoo-wee, what a cool story this has been. And I really need to go back and get as many of the old stories as I can. But yeah, this has been a really cool one. In the future, I'm definitely going to reread it. And this time all together. Alright, so when we last left off Hellboy, or when we left off in issue 3, Clump's granddaughter found out what he really did and what really was going to happen. And things were looking very shit. We start this issue, again, we see the castle. It is now 12, Hunt Castle is now 12 something a.m. We see Roger falling. He falls, and then Hellboy appears. He says, Roger, how are you? Are you okay? Roger was fighting the frog people, so I was right. They were similar to the ones that, or they're like the ones in Seed of Destruction. So he tells us he's been fighting them, but he wasn't strong enough to take them on. And the Hellboy assassin, J.C. Lobster Johnson, said yes, but he told me I had to face this off on my own, prove myself. And then he tells him that the giant conqueror worm had grabbed him, because it grabbed the frog people, and it consumed them, but it threw Roger away like garbage. And Hellboy's like, don't take it personally, Roger. Yeah, there's a reason for that. We'll get to it. Then what do? Hellboy pulls out the trap that the alien guy gave him in last issue, and they start approaching the Conqueror worm. It looks like it's working. The worm is screaming in its own language, something. And they thought shit's gonna work. It's working, but then suddenly something jumps at Hellboy and knocks him out. Roger's like, Hellboy, and then it's Clump's mechanical body. It grabs the little box, the little green box, and smashes it. And that's it. And Hellboy's like, no, just when it looked like it was working. And then Clump appears. And he says, you amuse me, you brute. The Hellboy kicks off his body. Obviously, he's there to make sure they don't stop it. Hellboy knocks it away. Was this when Clump gets... let me just make sure. This when he gets grabbed, or was it later? Okay, one second. Okay, no, that's later. Yeah, okay. He kicks his body, says that he amuses you. Hellboy says, you son of a bitch, and then they both run, and Clump is screaming after them, run, there's nowhere to run. Then we move on to Clump's granddaughter. She's at a lower level in the castle, and she's talking to someone. She says, are you this angel of death? And then Rasputin appears. Well, not really. It's his ghost, I would say. Rasputin's ghost, and it talks to her. And she says, it says, what, are you afraid of death? He talks to her, and she said, no, I was always surrounded by death, but the death, I'm a killer, an assassin, but I always had a purpose. Not complete annihilation, like what her grandfather wants. But there was always a purpose to it. And now, she's lost everything now. And then he starts telling her that the Klampt is crazy. And then because of his insanity, he doesn't see that this won't really be the end of men like he thinks. That yes, these the giant serpent will destroy everything, but from it things will be reborn. And he says how this is how humanity started. First there were the Hyperboreans, and then the Ice Age came, and again there was a new race of man, and each time, and he tells her, "You're going to be the one that'll birth the next race of men. You will live to see it." And that's what your uncle doesn't understand. You will make the next race of men. And then he moves his hand, and then like a little fire appears above her head. So there's that. That was surprising, I'll say. I wasn't expecting to see old Rasputin here. That was that was a surprise. But I mean, he's the one that attempted this to begin with. And Rasputin says death is not the end. Okay, just a second there. All right. Then we go back to Roger and Hellboy. Hellboy is about to throw his last grenade at the Conqueror worm. There's not much they really can do now. He throws it, but the Conqueror worm knocks it out with one of its tentacles, and they both it's thrown back at them. It explodes. They're both knocked out, and they're like, shit. What do we do? Klampt is also there. He's about to get grabbed by the Conqueror worm, but then it gets zapped from him and lets him go, and he starts laughing. And they're like, "What do we do?" And then Hellboy figures out that it can't seem to function well with electricity. It repels it. That's why it let go of Roger, because he's full of electricity. Because he drained the entire power from the generator of the castle. So then the idea is that maybe if he releases all that energy into the Conqueror worm, it will destroy it. Or not destroy it, but it'll suck the Conqueror worm right into him. And then from there they can think of something. And Roger says, yes, let's do it. He starts going, and Hellboy's like, no, wait, that's a terrible idea. We'll think of something else. And Roger says, no, Hellboy, that's a good idea. We'll go with it. And so he jumps at the Conqueror worm, and Hellboy says, "You're a better man than anyone I know." And then I couldn't understand, but I think he calls Roger by a different name, and not Roger, but something else. I was a little bit confused at that. Anyway, Roger jumps at the giant Conqueror worm and sucks out everything from it. The worm just it gets destroyed, and the Roger falls somewhere. And then, just a moment. So much has happened. And Clump has really gone bananas. Oh yeah, and Roger tells him, "Remember, I'm not entirely human." Then he remembers what the head guy his first name is Tom. What Tom told him before they left off for this mission. Yeah, you're a better man than I. There he said, and then he calls him Gunagdin. Maybe it's some sort of like saying, like maybe good luck. Yeah, then there's the explosion with the worm. You see a bit of Lobster Johnson there. His image, I guess he's looking. And then there's more from the because this is named after Edgar Allan Poe's story. So there's more lines from the poem. Unfortunately, I don't understand it so well as I've never read it, so I don't know the meaning here. And Hellboy runs down to get Roger to see how he is. Okay, 1 second. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. All right. All right. He approaches Roger. Roger is talking the same language that the Conqueror worm was speaking in. And he tries to fight. He's trying to control him. He tries to do his best to fight it. And then Hellboy says, "Come on, Roger, we'll get you down this mountain back to the guys in the BPRD. They'll help you." And Roger said, "No, I can't. You have to destroy me." He knows about the destruction mechanism. He tells Hellboy, "Destroy me." And Hellboy says, "No." He refuses to. "We'll find a way. You fought this, you can fight it." And then Klamt appears from behind. It's like, "To fight it. No, he talks to Roger. This is wonderful. Come on, my darling." And and now he thinks, "Oh, great, an even greater body for, or a better body for him to use." At the start of the comic, Hellboy Rogers talking how they need to make sure that the Conqueror worm doesn't get to a populated area, because then he can consume more, or it can consume more. And then suddenly, then Roger turns and says, "You want to die?" And he turns to, suddenly grabs Clumped. He says, "Do you want to die already?" Hellboy yells, "Roger, no!" And then they're falling, and Clumped yells, "No, not before the worm. I want to see the worm." So the bastard had no problem dying as long as he get to see the whole world get destroyed first. Asshole. Well, at least he doesn't get what he wants. They fall. Roger and Clump both fall. Clump's container for his head gets smashed against the rocks, and he dies. And Roger keeps falling down there. Then we move back to Clump's granddaughter. I think she may have seen her. She's standing again the same level, I think. And then suddenly Lobster Johnson appears and he says, "Your grandfather paid for his crimes. Now it's time for you to pay for yours, or you'll make her pay for hers in an even worse way." And she says, "No, I am the future. I will bring about the next race of men." And he pulls out a gun, and she pulls out a gun. They shoot at each other, but even though he's been shot 3 times, Lobster Johnson's still standing. But Clump's granddaughter is dead. Clump. Lobster Johnson approaches her and puts the sign of the claw on her forehead. That's it. She's gone. Then we move on to Hellboy. Um, Hellboy. Lobster Johnson finds Hellboy, or Hellboy finds Lobster Johnson. He says, "Oh, so you are here." I was thinking he'd be a lot more excited. He is a huge fan of Lobster Johnson, at least in the future stories. But yes, they both run to to find Roger, and find him. He's laying down at the mountain. Lobster Johnson's carrying a long metal pole. He tells Hellboy to quickly open his chest to remove the chest plate, and he shoves the pole in there, and you can see that the Conqueror worm is eating Roger on the inside. And I think the pole is especially to draw lightning. It draws lightning and it burns. It burns the worm inside of Roger. There's like not an explosion, but there's a massive light, and then holy shit. And then Hellboy approaches Roger. He's like, "Roger, are you okay? What do you remember?" Roger remembers everything. And then he turns and says, "Who's that?" And then they see on the side there's the body of Lobster Johnson. And he's now a skeleton. Ooh. And that's it. That's the end of Clumped, the end of his granddaughter, and the end of the Conqueror worm. They have managed to defeat it. Then we go back down the mountain. The Hellboy is talking to Kate Corrigan. He's asking how's Rogers doing. And it looks like all that electricity gave him one hell of a juice, but they're still going to have to give him a new generator later, probably, to keep his power up. And then Hellboy tells her, Roger's standing on the side talking to some agents. And Hellboy tells her, "Take care of him. Watch over him for me, Kate." And then Kate starts to say, "Where are you gonna be?" And before he can, or what does he say? He says, what did he answer? A minute. He says something. There's something interesting there, actually. Oh yeah, the hell was like, oh, you really are Lobster Johnson. Oh yeah, I forgot to say there's a lightning storm that starts. Oh yeah, he says, right, because Tom yells at him, Hellboy, and he answers, yeah. And, okay, yeah. Then he says, excuse me, Kate, he says, good job, and he needs a full report, as fast as possible, and Hellboy says, Tom, excuse me, Tom, bring your hand forward. And he gives him the device, the button to press to detonate the device inside of Roger. And he looks at him and says, I quit. Yes, so I was right. This is the last mission Hellboy went on with the BPRD. So then Kate says, so you're quitting, huh? Where will you go? And then they have a conversation. Africa, I've been there once a long time ago. Always wanted to go back, and now that'll be as good as any place to start. He wants to. I think this is him wanting to find out more about himself. Finally, the whole bringer of the apocalypse, the right hand of doom. And since the alien guy told him about the blood from his blood, the lilies grew. He didn't. Kate says, "Oh, I didn't know about that part." He said, "I only found out myself." And then before that, also always says, it's not just this whole thing. It's for a while now. Things are obviously not the same. The professor is gone now. So always says, "Yeah, I'm going to go tell Abe goodbye for me." And I'm surprised he didn't say Abe and Liz. And he says, and no, not he. Kate says, "Don't worry, Hellboy. I'll take care of everything. You just go." And he says, "Don't worry, Kate. This doesn't mean that I'm never coming back." That's the implication there. Although, unfortunately, spoilers, he never comes back again. I'm pretty sure. I haven't read all of the Hellboy stories, but I think after Hellboy in Hell, he probably never comes back. So that's it. She says, "Take care of yourself," and he says, "Of course." And that's it. That is the end of the story. Oh boy. Okay. So first, the cover. This is the coolest one in this mini series. You got the Conqueror worm, old big here, in the yellow against the blue and black. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Roger there. You got, of course, Hellboy here in a little square, and Lobster Johnson, of course. I don't get what, and you see that. I wish they had some yellow in the title, like always. It kind of makes it look like kind of like just a red, almost like the little square. And I think some yellow or maybe even white would have brought it out better. But yeah, regardless, fantastic. I love how the Conqueror worm looks. Alright, I'll show you some art. You see that's Roger there. Always Dave Stewart's coloring is fantastic. And of course, Mike Mignola art. Okay, there's Colum's body. And you see it destroyed the box, the bastard. Yeah, he was ready to die only after everyone was dead. Second. There's old Rasputin here, reappearing as a ghost. I wonder if he really thought that this would be, that Hellboy wouldn't stop the Conqueror worm. But unfortunately for him, he did. And there's more fighting, or not fighting, the idea. You see Roger looking all determined, sorry. Roger jumping with clumped. Then you got, you see, I am the future. And the Lobster Johnson says you owe too much to the past. Okay, let me show you the, there's the electricity. There's Lobster Johnson there. You see? It's a skeleton now. Yeah, take care of yourself. And he says, you bet. And this is that panel right there. Or that page there that was in another story I read. See, I recognized, like, you see this scenery here, I recognized it from there, and I was like, oh, is this it? I was right. But yeah, there we go. And that's it. This is the last anyone has ever seen of Hellboy. At least his BPRD team. Okay, so that was the art. Oh, this was a great story. I loved it. The whole idea, the whole the going back. I wish I understood the poem that or the story that was used by Edgar Allan Poe better. Before next time I reread this, I should really read some Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, and understand his poetry and the stories. Because as it stands, I'm not really following the whole line of a line. The train of thought here. What is this used for to describe this story? Yeah, it has something to do with the annihilation and well, not annihilation, but maybe men thinking to bring about the end. But just because it's an end of something, it's the beginning of something else. I don't know. I really need to read that to understand. Other than that, this has been great. Some cool action to get to see Lobster Johnson, which again puts into question what the fuck is Lobster Johnson? Was he ever a normal man? Or was he always some kind of like an entity, a sort of a ghost or something of a past warrior? Because he's got this thing that burns into the forehead of those that he kills. I mean, granted, you probably could have maybe made some device like that even back then, but it's just, what is he? He seems to appear when you need him. Because here it almost looks like he died in the Castle Hunt all the way back in 1939, but in other BPRD stories, for instance, after Hellboy leaves, he dies, or not dies, he's fighting along with his sidekick on a train, for instance, and Nazi blows up the train, puts explosive on it. Somehow Lobster Johnson survives that explosion, but his sidekick doesn't. So what's the timeline here with all of this? How what's going on really with him? I need to look if there's any maybe a trade or an omnibus full of Lobster Johnson. That would be definitely something to read. He's a very fascinating character. Oh yeah, the story itself, fighting out about Roger. Can't believe they would do that. I mean, yes, he did kill one of their agents, but like Hellboy said, that's the dangers of their profession. And it's not like Roger's been awake way before that and was planning it. It was all a shock to him. Yeah, you can see how Hellboy was, not liking the direction where this was going, and again, no more Professor Broom. He was, not alone, but more and more things about who he is coming up, and maybe it was just time that he wanted to find out who he was, and to see Rasputin again. That was something. I didn't expect that. That's for sure. Yeah, this has been great. This is kind of sad because that's it. This was the last time that Hellboy was ever seen by the BPRD, probably, and that's it. I need to see if there are more stories after Hellboy in Hell. Where did he go after that? Did they ever get to see him again? You know, Liz is human. She'll get older and eventually die, and so is Kate, so is Tom. I don't know about Abe. Well, Roger obviously not. He's not human. Neither is Abe, but you know, how long is he gonna live? Well, what kind of creature was he turned into? Huh? So many questions. This is such a cool and interesting universe. The whole universe of Hellboy. So yeah, this is a great story. If you love Hellboy, if you love Hellboy stories, I definitely recommend give this one a read. It was awesome. And it's old Mike Minola art and story, just how I love it. Yeah, I still can't believe I was right about it. Oh yeah, what was think? Looks like I was wrong. The bomb inside Roger was never used. I was certain it would be, but I guess it makes sense. What could it possibly do against the Conqueror worm? Really, it's just a regular, maybe a strong but a regular explosive. Really, what could it have done? I didn't anticipate the box breaking though, or not breaking. That Clump would destroy it. Thought they would have a whole fight, and then not Clump, Hellboy would, I don't know, maybe jump on the Conqueror worm and somehow shove the box at it or something. So yeah, no, that would turn out to be wrong. And anyway, a great story. All right, folks. So that is it. Let me know if you read Conqueror Worm. What did you think of the story? Did you like it? Did you not? That is it. Remember, collect what you're passionate about and share it on YouTube. Bye!